So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Presenters Series. We're getting geared up for the IMDHA HypnoExpo 2026. It took me a minute to remember what the heck year is this, and we are so excited. So, in this series, which will meet for the next 4 weeks on Mondays, in this series, we will be interviewing each evening two of the presenters of pre and post conference programs from the Hypno Expo, so that you can find out what their offerings are about and what they're about, and maybe get some questions answered. And hopefully, we'll make sure that they all teach you a little bit of something that you can actually use as well while we're here. So, with that said, I would like to introduce my co-host, Karen Hand. Hello, Karen.
Hello, good evening. How are y'all? Glad to see you here.
Yeah. And I think we're ready to get underway. I don't want to take any more time away from the first
Yeah.
speaker. So we are going to begin with Jessica Hanson, and I've got to tell you, Jessica, I love you, and I don't know if you know this, but I was thinking about introducing you, and I realized when I was putting it together in my mind, it was like, well, it sounds more like you're making a toast.
It's okay.
But the truth of the matter is, this woman here is one of the most industrious and sincere people that I know, and she came into this community and took the bull by the horns and did all the hard stuff, and I am so impressed. And she was very, very helpful to me when I first started running the Train the Trainer programs. We needed to gather material very, very quickly, and Jessica stepped up to the plate and got stuff for me, and attended, I believe, that first course that I did, in fact. And that was history. She's a remarkable trainer and educator. She loves what she does. She is passionate and wonderful. So anything that needs to be, and she actually runs a state licensed, is that the word? School in Minnesota for hypnosis, which is quite an undertaking, as some of you may realize. And
And an ongoing undertaking, right, Jessica?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we are just thrilled to have her as a part of our community. So Jessica took over after Roy Hunter, some of you know, sort of disappeared from the scene due to some medical issues, and Jessica stepped right up and took over the let me say it right, the parts therapy training and the trainer training for parts therapy as well. And that's what she's here to talk to us about this evening. They will be offered both before, well, one of them before and one of them after the conference. I'll let her explain to you just how all of that works. So, Jessica, good evening. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here. It's hard to believe it's this time of year already. I don't know where everything went. But yeah, I'm going to be teaching the parts therapy training. So if you want to learn to be a parts therapy facilitator, and I'm kind of calling it the Tebbets Hunter method, because there's many parts therapy methods out there for hypnotists. Some of you have probably been trained in other versions or variations of it. So I have a unique teaching that I'm offering, or workshop, and that'll be the 2 days before the conference. So you're going to have to come early for that one. I have my dates. April 29th and 30th are the dates for that. So you have to come early and hang out. It's really hard to hang out in Florida at that time. But a little bit about what parts therapy is. I'm assuming everyone on here has been trained in hypnosis, but there may be some who have not. So if you've not done a formal training, you probably are not familiar with parts therapy, or maybe it was just touched on briefly as part of your training. So parts therapy basically deals with, we have different ego states or parts, depending on which word you choose to use. Or if you want to call it wearing different hats, like I like to wear hats a lot of the time. It's me. So we have different hats that we wear, meaning that right now, those of you I'm seeing on screen, I'm seeing a different part of you that I wouldn't normally meet if I were to come to your workplace or to your office, or if I were to meet you in a grocery store. You'd be wearing a different hat. If I would see you with your family, your loved ones, your husband, your children, that kind of stuff, you would be wearing a different hat as well. So we have all these parts of us, and they say that we use between 5 and 15 different parts or ego states every single day. And the cool thing is, just like how automatically we are in and out of trance all day long, we step in and out of these parts all day long. And it's almost seamless for most people. But if you get really good at watching people, which you should as a hypnotist, you can actually watch the transition points when people shift parts, which is really cool to watch. It's one of the fun things we get to see as hypnotists. So a couple of things I want to say about the parts therapy class and why you should join me and spend a little extra of your fun money. Is that I've kind of taken, yes, Roy handed all this over, and I have taken it and updated a few things. Mainly what I've done for my parts therapy students is I have a Google Classroom, which has additional materials for you. So additional stuff on some of the things I'm not going to spend a lot of time because we only have 2 days together. And I really want you to walk away with a solid skill set, meaning we're going to role play some of this and then we're going to do it and do some demos. And I'd rather spend more time on demos and hands-on than going over so much of the history. Because you'll have the history in your manual in your book, and the Google Classroom has extra resources there for you to go study other things. So that's there for you. And ongoing questions and support, you can reach out to me at any time with your ongoing questions. I have a logo that you can put on your website if you take the course with me, to differentiate you from the other hypnotists out there in the hypnosis world. So kind of an extra little fun perk. You will also get CEUs for attending, and you'll get a certificate from me. And then you have the option of getting an additional certificate from IACT or IMDHA for with their official logo and everything on that says Parts Therapy Facilitator. So those are some things that are available to you. The other things we're going to talk about are explaining. You're going to learn how to explain the concept of parts therapy, compare it to other similar techniques, kind of where it came from. What makes a successful parts therapy session. So Roy has this thing, the 4 objectives of hypnosis. It's kind of an interesting little square that actually took me many years to grasp. It was the bane of my hypnosis existence for a long time. But as I started teaching this more, I grasped a hold of it enough to be able to make better sense of it, to teach it to my students. Then when to use parts therapy, you're going to learn that. How to explain parts therapy to your client. Because, oh my gosh, if you sit down with a person, tell them, did you know you have parts and other personalities? They're going to think that it's multiple personalities, and that is not what it is at all. So you want to get rid of some of those fears up front, not create fears as well. And then we have, Hollywood and movies and TV shows to thank for the multiple personality fears as well for people. So how to explain it to your client, and then when to use it with the client. How do you even know when to use this technique? That's very important. There's a few times that it's actually very obvious, and there's some times that it's not so obvious. So we're going to talk about those. Then preparing your client, there's a little parts therapy pre-talk that I find works really well to get a person really comfortable really fast. In all of my years of doing this so far, I have not had anyone reject the idea of parts therapy. I have a few people with a big question mark on their face, like, oh, that's interesting. But once we get into the process, they find it very enjoyable and almost humorous at times, because when you start talking, allowing the angry part of yourself to actually have a voice, it can say some very interesting things and colorful things at times. So once they get a hold of that and grasp that, a lot of people have fun. And they're really kind of in awe at the end of the session that they had all of that in them and that it came out and that they resolved their issue. There's an 11-step process that Tebbet's developed and Roy continued teaching. So it sounds 11 sounds like a big, I only have 10 fingers. So add an extra one in there for 11. It sounds like a big scary number for steps. It's not. Think of the steps as more of a framework or a paint by number. Like if you see the number 1, the color is red, the number 2 is green. Just think of it as a paint by number. And it's really easy to follow and remember and know where you're at in the session. So you don't make any mistakes and get the results for your client that you want. Then we're going to practice and role play. And we want to also talk about the importance of integrating all the parts at the end. We don't want you to just end a session with all their parts just still sitting there waiting. It would be the equivalent of just if you were running a meeting in a conference room and you just got up and walked out. How would you feel as a participant of that meeting? You wouldn't enjoy it very well. So at the end of a parts therapy session, we want to it's a simple way to do it, but we want to bring all your parts that we talked to back inside of you. Not that they ever left you, but it's the only way we have to talk about this. So bringing all those parts that we talked about in your little conference room, put them all back inside of you so that they can all then do their new job, cause you less issues, and you can get on with life. The best thing I love about parts therapy is that usually one parts therapy session resolves the issue for someone. If you really get down into it, you can use it with smoking, with weight loss. Weight loss might take a couple parts therapy sessions because usually there's several parts and it just depends on how much time you spend with your client. But most sessions that I have run with parts therapy, we usually reach a resolution in one session with the parts therapy, which is really cool. So I love the ease and the quickness of this technique for people. So that's the pre-conference. That's what we're going to do there. And I also have a special extra gift that I kind of developed as part of this, because I want you to feel like you've earned this and it's very special. It's unique in the hypnosis world. So there's an extra gift. You have to take the class to find out what that is. Because I didn't even bring one from my office tonight. Sorry. And then we have the parts therapy train the trainer, May 4th and 5th. This is post-conference. And if you are already trained in parts therapy or an equivalent of parts therapy, so it could be a thing such as internal family systems. If you're trained, maybe you're otherwise credentialed in the therapy world. If you're an internal family systems student, or you use that technique and you just want to learn this and learn how to teach this as well, I have no problem with that. You'll just have to reach out to me directly or through IACT to have that approved. But if you've ever taken the parts therapy training with Roy years ago, his 2-day conference parts therapy, you qualify for the train the trainer. And it's fun. What we learn in our 2 days is how to teach Tebbetson Hunter's method of parts therapy. And you get a lot of cool things that go with that. So you have a PowerPoint presentation that you can use. I will admit it is a little bit dated, but it's effective and it still works. And it's a great piece of history, an excellent piece of hypnosis history that I think is so cool to have in your toolbox if you are a trainer. So how to teach that. There's also some scripts that I've developed to help ease your students as part of the training. So role play that they just talk back and forth, taking the different roles of the therapist and client or hypnotist and client. Those have been very effective. In the parts therapy workshop, I've been using them. So giving you access to those as a trainer. There's additional instructor resources as well. And those are on a separate Google Classroom for you. And it has links to everything of all the other variations of parts therapy. I have been reading several of the other books. Virginia Satir is one of my favorites, so I have many of her videos. She's just so amazing. If you have never watched Virginia Satir, go on YouTube, Google Virginia Satir and watch. It is magic what she has done with people. She's one of my favorites. So I have lots of that stuff. I have the Yagarian method of subliminal therapy, Nancy Napier, a whole bunch of other ones for you. There's also a logo just for parts therapy instructors that you get to put on your website and proudly display for your efforts in spending time with me at the conference. You'll also get a certificate that says that you are a certified parts therapy trainer. And you can also get an additional certificate from IACT or IMDHA for a small additional fee if you want that as well. So you can come away with 2 certificates if you need, and access to some pretty cool information and an amazing piece of hypnosis history. This parts therapy goes a long ways back, and I think it's really worth learning from some of these older, our older hypnotists, the older generations. Some of them that I've never gotten to meet. And I know Michael and Karen have, but some of them I barely got to meet when I came into the hypnosis world. So it's just really an honor to step into these very big shoes of bringing this forward in the hypnosis world. So with that, I think I want to open it up to questions to anyone here. I know I kind of said a lot, but questions. I love questions.
Hi, Jessica, Sonia this side.
Yeah.
It's a very simple question. Could you please mention the name of Virginia, complete name of her, so that I can refer to her videos that you're talking about?
It's Virginia Satir, and it's Satir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so
much. You're welcome.
So, Jessica, let me ask you a question real quick about the pre and post, because that gets a little bit confusing. I know it's an ongoing course. You get the full thing if you take both sides, but is it possible to take one without the other?
Yes. Great question. Thank you. I forgot to bring that up. Yes, it is. You can just take the pre-conference. There are really no prerequisites to that one, except for I would like you to have the basic understanding of hypnosis and regression. Just the basics of that, because it does make understanding parts therapy a little bit easier. The train the trainer part, you can take that after taking the pre-conference at this conference, if you so desire. But if you are just going to take that separately, then ideally we want you to have been training hypnotists at least 2 years full-time, or at least working 2 years full-time as a hypnotist, or I think 3 years part-time. And then reach out and talk to IACT and ask. They'll probably refer you to me, and I'll just have a discussion with you either through email or on the phone and approve you. I already have one person signed up that way. They have taken parts therapy training from a different trainer in parts therapy, a little different method, and they want to learn this method. So they want to be a trainer in this.
And you mentioned IFS, internal family systems.
Yes.
Is that parts therapy?
Yes, it is. It is.
What makes it? I have some people who do IFS and they say there's no hypnosis involved. So tell me a little bit about that, would you?
So IFS is very much similar. The only difference is that was explained to me this summer was largely the person facilitating the IFS session is taking the roles of all of the family, or all the parts of the person, where in parts therapy, we are letting the client fill all those roles in some way or another. I taught a group out in Ohio this year, and several of them were trained traditional therapists, no background in hypnosis. So it was a really fun adventure for me. And several of them were IFS therapists. And I had to tell them, first off, you are already a hypnotist, because hypnosis is focused attention. And when you are talking, your patient client is focused on you. And when you're walking them through this process, they are focused on your words and where you're guiding them. You're just doing open eye trance. So it was really fun to teach them as a group, a counseling group. And I got some really amazing feedback from them after this training as well, that they had been using it and didn't really change much, except for now they understood what hypnosis was and the signs of trance and how to leverage that. And they were actually getting better results still doing IFS. So it was really fun.
So, Michael, maybe this question is for you. A question that from Sonia that says, "Will there be a recording?" You know all about that recording thing. I think you've talked about it, but you're muted. Will you unmute us?
Sure, why not? There'll be recording, but my voice won't be in that segment. Yes, there will be a recording of today and all of these evenings. And as I mentioned, it'll be posted on the IACT website. It'll be posted on the Virtual Chapter Facebook group, and it will be posted on the Virtual Chapter YouTube channel. And I'm betting that if you go to the IACT IMDHA website, that Ashley is probably also going to make a place specifically for these videos as well. She has in the past, but that's the best I can tell you about that. But there will definitely be a recording. Oh.
And just in case she was wondering about the parts therapy recording, no, it's not recorded at the conference. The pre and post are not recorded. So you have to be there in order to get the information. That's
good catch on that, Jessica. I made an assumption about what that question was. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes.
You know, that goes for all of them. All of the free items at the conference are recorded, and those will be on the recordings. And anything that is a paid workshop will not be, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Okay, I want one more clarification because
Yes.
I'm in Singapore. So I want to understand the timing of these meetings, when exactly the time it will start.
Are you asking the timing of parts therapy at the conference or the presenter series?
The presenter series as well as like whatever is the therapies that they are going to suggest. So what is the schedule of all these things that I'm not aware of? If you can please help me. I could not find it on IACT or IMDHA website.
So she's asking about the presenter series lineup. Maybe someone can email you the or forward the IACT email.
Yes, this would be a great idea because there's a printed schedule. And I know it has been posted on Facebook in a couple of places, and I know that it was emailed out to IACT IMDHA members. So you may actually find it in your mail if you're a member. But if not, yeah, great. Oh, I see it. Great. Thanks for putting your address there. I will send it to you. I see it there in the room.
Thank you,
So yes.
Michael. Thank you so much.
Sure,
Thank you
sure
so
enough.
much.
You will have a whole list. Okay.
By the way, for future reference too, you can always email IACT. Just email staff@iact.com, and you can ask your questions there.
I think it's .org.
Okay, you're right. .org.
Not .com.
Yeah.
Yep, .org.
Staff@iact.org.
Jessica, I want to take advantage of the fact that we have you for 4 more minutes. My goodness, it's longer than you may realize, actually.
Yes.
But here's what I wonder, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, so you can feel free to just brush me off. But you've been doing this for a while now, and I know you've had quite a bit of experience with this and with the classes that you've taught, as well as with individuals that you've worked with. So I'm just wondering if you got some war story. I mean that in a good way, that you'd like to share or something, because I know people are always interested in what is this? What is it like when I use this with a client?
Using it with a client, I have so many favorites, but I think one of my favorites was actually last year pre-conference with one of my students. And she is so hypnotizable, but so, what do I want to say? Emotive is the word. You just really see her emotions come out. I love parts therapy when I have those clients, or you get them deep enough, this comes out as well. you can physically watch their face change with the part of them that you're talking to.
Mhm.
And as well as their voice, but sometimes the face actually changes or the body changes in some way. It's very subtle, but you get to see it. So if it's a more masculine, strong part, it appears that way on their face. Their face may tighten or, you know, but she was just so emotive and expressive with her face that you just, without even asking which part I was speaking to, you could tell just by the look on her face and her whole body. The other thing I'll add to that point as well, the sessions in parts therapy that are the most amazing to me are the ones that turn out a little bit more spiritual. Meaning we talk to the higher power part of the client or the part of them most closely connected to God or their version of God. And there are moments in those sessions that honestly, I get goosebumps and it feels like there's more than just me in the room. And those are so cool. And a lot of times the words that come out of my mouth during that, they're not me. I know they're not. I know that I'm just a vessel there to help my client. And I can't really describe it beyond that, but the room is tangible. And we both end up in tears by the time we're done because the wisdom that comes out during that portion is something that neither of us could have ever thought of. So there is a spiritual component to this as well. And then I'll throw in, because I know there was a misunderstanding about parts therapy a couple of years ago when I was auditing one of Roy's classes, that you can actually talk to physical body parts as well. So some people use it for physical ailments. I've used this with an eye issue for a client, or people are going to have surgery on different parts of their body. So we're asking the body what it needs to heal. So you can use it for physical body parts. It doesn't have to be these etheric ego parts of us. It can be physical body parts. You can talk to your ear and see what your ear has to say about not hearing or not wanting to hear, which is really cool. So I know that stretches the imagination of a lot of people, but
No, I'm just giggling because I asked my ear a question and it said, what?
yeah.
I had a client once whose kidney showed up. She had had a kidney transplant. So one kidney was removed, and before the transplant, the surviving kidney showed up and said, I need help. I'm doing this all by myself. I've been abandoned by my twin, and I need help, and I need you to do this. Isn't that incredible stuff?
It is.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories of transplant patients having those sort of things, and I am waiting to have one of them. I do have a client who is a transplant recipient of like 3 different organs, but she has not wanted to do that yet. I'm like, if you just ever want to explore, I'm more than happy to do a session. But I've heard things about the body and those transplanted parts not maybe getting along.
I have a question really quick.
Yeah, Jessica.
Hey, so I'm actually new to the group. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi.
I am actually joined through the RTT, which is, I think, a lot different than what a lot of you do, the Rapid Transformational Therapy.
Mhm.
I'm actually looking for another course to do because I'm getting bored. If y'all know anything online or anything, I could work around my other schedule. But the spiritual aspect, I didn't know y'all's thoughts on the quantum healing. Have y'all heard of that, the QHHT? I'm actually certified in that. I don't get a whole lot of those clients around where I live much anymore, but I didn't know y'all's thoughts on that. If y'all had any thoughts about that hypnosis, or if y'all knew.
There are all sorts of ways to get to an end result.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's one of them.
Yeah. Great.
In fact, if I can step in, well, and we're kind of at our transition point anyway, so if I can just sort of share it. I really believe, and Karen said it rightly. I honestly have been doing this for nearly 50 years now. I don't believe at this point, and there were times when I was very rigorously clutching to whatever system that I had been taught or whatever, and this is the way, this is the way that it's supposed to be. But the truth of the matter is everything that works works. And as a community, we keep getting together arguing with people about that thing that you're doing, that doesn't work. And I'm like, you need to tell my clients because, because they're getting results. And I think the truth of the matter is we don't really know why it works. Uh, I sort of think that. I mean, science, there's science. I mean, I get that there's some science and some explanations, but I think what it is there's something that we all do somehow underneath this. That is, we present a metaphor that's an appropriate vehicle for a client to use to take a journey from one place to another or one experience to another. And that journey takes many, many forms. One of them is imagine a spot on the wall. you know, and another is, and when you feel that way, just really notice deep down inside where that comes from and ask that part of you a question, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever it is that you want to do. But Jessica, you said it so nicely. I think that there's a place where we can get with our clients when we allow the process to unfold and nature does some amazing things. You might call it spirit, you might call it the unconscious mind, you might whatever you call it, Fred. But something is going on beneath the surface that is just profound, and I think is the reason that we're all so attracted to this work in the first place. So anyway, there's my soapbox.
So to wrap this segment up, Jessica will be doing her pre-conference the 2 days before the conference on parts therapy and the post-conference on Train the Trainer for parts therapy. So if you want more information than that, you can probably get in touch with Jessica, or you can look at the manual, or you can take the course and love it. How's that?
That's perfect, Karen. Thank you.
See you in May. May 1st through 3rd, by the way. Well, you'll be there in April, so get the place warmed up for us. And you'll find out you'll know all the great places to eat by the time we get there. And let's turn a page over to my friend and cohort, Michael Watson. I'm always delighted to interview Michael for any reason, and I always get to do it on the presenter series because he's always doing something pre and post. This time he will be doing stress management, but let me tell you a little bit about Michael. I think most people know Michael well, but Jessica mentioned that she's brand new, and so Jessica, this is particularly for you. Michael Watson is an internationally known master trainer of hypnosis and NLP, over 45 years in the field. An IACT Educator of the Year and 2024 Hypnosis Hall of Fame inductee. He's a pioneer in online education and co-host of the IACT IMDHA virtual chapter. We do the chapter, by the way, second Tuesday of every month. It's always free, and we always have incredible guests. You'll always learn something there. His trainings are known for their warmth, clarity, and practicality, and they didn't put it in the formal stuff, but he's also known for his puns and his wit. So you will have a lot of fun when you get into those classes too. Michael will be doing the stress management consultation specialty certification. And what happens, Michael, when one gets a specialty certification? What does that really mean?
Well, it means you become eligible for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Isn't everyone?
No. So what does it mean? Well, of course, it's a credential and it's a recognition, by a professional association, et cetera, et cetera. And it's funny. I don't believe that, I'm here to promote my own program. But I've got to tell you, I really don't care too much about the kind of papers that people carry. And my experience is that people don't ask me about mine. Maybe unless you're applying for a job, but I don't get people that show up in my practice, and want to know what certificates do I have and who did I get them from. And Jessica, because you mentioned what you mentioned earlier about, and I understand I've dealt with a lot of people that have been trained, by Marissa and are in the, and are in that thing, but they've sort of got this system. And there are so many wonderful things to continue to explore, but nobody will give you a certificate of completion ever. Hypnosis is not something that you get done learning. So take what you know and use what you know to do everything that you can do with it. And keep your ears and eyes open for something else that somebody is doing that might contribute to what you do as well. And there are so many groups and wonderful, people that you can get involved with where you can keep growing and learning. So just keep adding to what you got, but you've got a base and you've got something to start from. So start from there and just don't become too orthodox about it. Don't stay in just one little cubby hole because there's just too much to enjoy. Okay, well, I'm preaching again. I like that. That's one of the things,
He does come from
I do.
a clerical background.
Yeah, I do have that. I do have that in my past. Um, I do want to mention, with regards to the Certified Stress Management Training Program, which is what I'm actually here to talk about. It is 2 days. It is post-conference, as Karen has already said. And I'll tell you what I think about it. I love who we are in community. I really dig it. And so to me, I was just writing some notes to how do I describe this? Is I think it's a couple of great days with some really amazing people in the tropics, I might add, just subtly, to give you some tools and to remind you of some new tools, but to remind you of some old ones as well. And also to help you discover what is it that you already have got going for you that's going to enable you to be able to do this. What we want to do is to support you in being able to do stress management programs, whether it's one-on-one with your clients and have the ability to work with that, or whether it's working with groups or corporations and doing presentations. All of that is in here. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more specifically as we go along. But it's just really a great couple of days, and we're going to make sure that you got everything that you need. It's nice. See, here's the thing. The stress management class, of course, is taught post-conference because if you think about stress management, it's really about that developing the ability to linger. You know, the conference ends, everybody else is grabbing up their stuff and rushing off to the airport. But you can just kind of relax, sit back in the lounge by the pool, on Sunday evening, and then Monday morning, we'll get you going with some more good stuff. So I think actually, if you have stress-related issues, you should come to this class just in order to get your own stuff taken care of because because that's what we're going to do. There are no prerequisites. Well, it's not there are no. The prerequisites are that you have some background and literally no number of hours, no particular certificates from everybody, but that you have a basic elementary understanding of hypnosis or hypnotherapy or some other field of the healing arts that this can fold into for you. The cool thing about it is so many of the classes that I teach, you have to be like a member of IACT or IMDHA, or you have to be a certified member of IACT or IMDHA. You don't have to have that in order to take this class. And if you take this course and you become a certified stress management consultant, you will also automatically be given a professional membership in the association. Not a certified membership, but a professional membership in the association, just free. So there you are. You got your membership for a year, and then you can decide what it is that you want to do with it after that. So I didn't know that they were doing that actually. I just found out about 6 months ago when I was teaching the last class, and I thought, what a great thing for us to be able to have folks from other denominations, join us for our program. So I'll tell you what I'd like to do to kind of get this going, because I'd rather have a conversation with you guys than lecture a bunch of bullet points and do a commercial. So let me ask you a curious question. That is stress. You've heard of stress probably before. Many of you have had it. You've read about something, or some people who have had an experience with stress. And there's a couple ways to talk about stress, but I'm an NLP guy, so sometimes I'm interested in thinking about what the kind of internal game is that people are engaged in when they're having this experience called stress. Because stress, by the way, now the linguist in me wants you to hear this loud and clear. Stress is a nominalization. We talk about this thing called stress as though there is a thing called stress. But in fact, this thing called stress is in fact a process. It's a verb. It's something that's happening. In fact, arguably, I would say that if you are experiencing stress, it is something that you do. Now, you might not think you do it deliberately, but I'll tell you what, some parts of your body are doing their thing, right? With stress, with the fight or flight response and all that stuff. There's all this activity going on. But then there are also the thoughts that you have about the thing that's happening and so on. I got really curious about this and was playing with I was playing with AI a little bit less, well, maybe a year or so ago. And and I remember hearing in my head the best stress cry that I could think of was the voice of Chicken Little saying, "The sky is falling, the sky is falling," you know. And in fact, it actually seemed to make sense on the particular day that I ran into it. Some of you may have had some days when it seems as though the sky is falling. And here's the thing. When the sky is falling for Chicken Little, and it was AI that taught me this, so I'm so very thankful. When the sky is falling, what Chicken Little did is she thought the sky was falling, and of course, we know it wasn't falling. It was an acorn that hit her on the head, right? But what she did was she went around to everybody that she knew to tell them, "Oh my God, the sky is falling. Ducky Lucky, Goosey Lucy, the sky is falling." You know, and they said, "Oh my God, if the sky is falling, we need to do something about that." And she got agreement for this terrible internal experience that she was generating out of an acorn that hit her on the head. And I think one of the things that's really interesting is when you get outraged, and by the way, I've seen this on Facebook in the last couple of days really well. When you get outraged and you have a strong position about something, the thing to do in 2026 is to go online and express your outrage in order to make sure that you get a whole lot of agreement about it. To get a whole lot of agreement about it, and to make sure, by the way, that those, who's on the other side, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's really an interesting way. Doesn't do much for stress. But so if something is stress, see, I wish when people were in ecstasy, they would do kind of the same thing. Let's go out and generate more of that. Let's get more people involved with this because it's so cool. But nonetheless, so one of the things that we want people to learn when it not only in the stress management class, but the people that my students may work with later on is to enable our clients and associates to recognize how it is that we are creating these experiences within ourselves and how it's possible for us to do something different. When you think that stress is a thing that comes after you, you can't do anything different. But when you understand that it's something that is being generated in and through and as your experience, then you can go, oh, maybe I could do this a little bit differently. One of the ways to have, anticipatory anxiety, it's not exactly stress, but anxiety is really a part of this equation as well. And we'll talk about that in the class. Well, let me ask you a question. I was going to ask at the beginning here, of those of you who are here, and somebody needs to be willing to talk to me about this, but let me tell you what I'm going to ask you. Given the idea that I suggested to you that stress is something that you do, I think it might be easier for you if you think about anxiety rather than stress, just in terms of the purpose of the exercise. But if anxiety is something that you do, what I know is some of us are better at it than others. Right? Some of us are really good at it. My mother was a great teacher, by the way. I learned everything that I know about how to be anxious from my mom. That there's an internal process involved. And if you were going to teach a class, now I'm teaching a class to help people manage their stress, right? But if I was going to teach a class, there's some folks have just never had any stress in their life at all, and they feel really left out, and they want to know how they could have that experience. So they came to my class. They said, "Michael, teach me how to experience anxiety." Well, if somebody asked you that question, would you know how to teach them? Do you understand? If you think about the last time that you were anxious or stressed, either way works, but that you were having some strong emotional experience like that, what is it that you were doing internally in order to allow that to happen? Yeah, Karen.
Taking short, shallow breaths instead of deep breaths.
Hmm. So
Breathing
she's got
rapidly.
I hear the beginning of a technique.
That's right.
So short, shallow breaths, and then what else do you have to do to get anxious? Anybody can say that, Mary
Very
Beth?
good.
I have to have an internal dialogue about how awful it is
Hmm.
or how horrible it's usually future projection,
Yeah,
the catastrophe that is imminent.
yeah, 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 cool.
That and I'm
And
helpless to do anything about it.
by the way, Karen was talking about short and shallow with regard to the breaths. I think there's an interesting submodality in here because Mary Beth, let me ask you a question. That internal dialogue that you have, what is it? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it frantic? Is it what is it like?
It's fast, um it's loud. It's louder than any other voice in my head.
Mhm.
It's commanding.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, notice that Brer Bear, by the way, wouldn't be any good at this at all. Oh, well, I'm gonna knock his head clean off. You know, right? So it's gotta be kind of peppy, doesn't it? There's gotta be some energy to it. Ducky Lucky Goosey Lucy, the sky is falling. Some of that seems to be required. Now, by the way, Mary Beth, I want to acknowledge your individuality here because everybody doesn't do this exactly the same way. But there's some things that I think really, if you kind of took a poll, you'd find out are pretty sort of standard things, right? And often it is that. The rhythm of emotions is something that we don't talk about enough. And I think it's really interesting to think about. Like, for example, the difference between fear and dread is mostly a matter of speed. If I'm afraid of something, I'm running a little faster inside, but this thing called dread is really slow and it has a whole different notion. So it's interesting to think that when you're working with clients, if you just take this little piece home as something that's not specifically about stress, but about hypnosis in general, that every once in a while you might grab a hold of something like that and notice to ask your client, what happens if you take that and slow it down or speed it up or change it in some way and see what happens. It's kind of interesting because I really do believe that once your unconscious mind knows how to do something better than what you've been doing, it becomes more available to you. And hopefully that's the name of the game that we're up to. So, stress management class. What am I going to tell you about it specifically? It's important, right? It is important. Obviously, stress is a big deal in the world these days, and uh, and how we handle it, of course, makes all the difference in the world. We are not ever going to be stress removal experts. And I think everybody's saying, I'm going to go to the hypnotist and have him take my stress away. Well, first of all, it ain't your stress. Just be, but that's a whole different thing about territories and stuff. It ain't your stress. It's it's this thing that's been going on, on with you, but life is full of stress-inducing stuff. Welcome to the planet. We're interested in having healthy clients, right? And healthy clients aren't people who somehow or another don't have any realistic way to manage difficult situations. What we want them to do is to have the resilience, to have the resources, to have tools that they can work with when stress comes a knocking at their door. If that makes some sense. So we want people to do it better. I think is another way to say about it. Continue to have your stress, but just have it in a more useful way. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we really talk about in the course, and it just absolutely amazes me, and oh my God, I don't have the statistics, but there was a study done at the University of Wisconsin back in the 80s, actually, and one of the things that they discovered, they asked people a couple of questions. The question that they asked in the study was, how much stress do you experience in your life? And, and the answers were, 1 to 6, I think, from very, very little to a whole heck of a lot, and everything in between. Then they asked people a second question, and that was, do you believe that stress is harmful to your health? And then, and they got, the information on that. And then they waited 15 years and did what any good, reasonable study does. They found out who died. So, so they can get the information. And they discovered that something like 43% of the people that had a lot of stress in their life had died, but only among the part of the audience that had believed that stress was bad for them. And the conclusion of this study was the belief that stress is bad for your health is the 15th largest killer, or something in the world. That's rather amazing. So one of the things is we can teach people all kinds of things about techniques that they can use, and we will. By the way, you'll get in this class, you'll get like a 63-page, I believe, book, and it has 20 different techniques for working with stress. It has stress assessment tests and things that you can administer and share with your students or audiences or however it is that you use the material. A whole bunch of little stress busters and techniques and things that you can use, of course, for that. But handouts that you can copy and make part of the presentation material that you use, if you decide that you want to do a presentation with a group, because you're obviously not going to want to give them all the 65-page manual unless you're teaching them a long seminar, because you might want to use this to be able to do an hour-long lunch talk at some corporations, for example. Some people use it that way. You might want to be able to do a 2-hour program or a 3-hour program or a 1-day workshop, and we'll give you formats for all of that stuff and all of the material that you need to put in there. And we got no rigid notions about how it is that you're to use this material. We want to make sure that you have enough, and and that you're skillful with enough. But we also want you to be able to put your own stamp on it and decide what are the things that are important to you. So for example, Jessica, you've got your RTT stuff, and there may be something from that you would like to, include in a stress management workshop if you were teaching it. And there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to do that. Gosh, the clock moves so fast, doesn't it? I think, let me see, are there any questions? I see, here we go. Somebody, how about interesting study? How about doctors who tell their patients stress can lead to health issues? Well, yeah, in fact, those doctors are some of the best hypnotists on the planet.
Right.
And, and they're giving their patient a suggestion. And I don't mean to say that I don't want to bash the doctors, because they literally are a part of the echo chamber that we all live in. This is a cultural belief, and they've been taught it just like the rest of us have been taught it, and they continue to put it out there. And I'll tell you what, stress can kill people. Stress can lead to health issues if you don't know how to manage stress. So I'm not saying it isn't important, but what I am saying is, by the way, there's a lady named Kelly McGonigal you might want to look up, who did some great stuff about this. She wrote a wonderful book called The Upside of Stress. And she explains how this fight or flight response, by the way, and all of the hormones and enzymes that go along with it are there in order to support you in difficult situations. So it'd be interesting if you can come out of this workshop making stress your friend and finding out how it is that you can use it to help you have a better experience, because it's there to help you. Or you can resist it and you can go, God damn it, that's here again. Right. And then obviously it doesn't get to do the job. So
But you can also use this stress management special certification to be a money maker. Because if you do run across a doctor who says to you stress kills or stress can hurt your health, be sure you inform that doctor that you are a stress a stress consultant, and they should send all of their patients to you to help reduce their stress. Boy, I tell every doctor I know that I can help stop smoking or reduce stress or any of those things. And doctors don't particularly like to work with those patients anyway. They refer people to you, IBS and fibromyalgia. There are no great medical cures for those things. So when the doctors have nothing else to offer, they're going to offer you as a referral. Remember, doctors are very good at referring. Let me refer you to this specialist. Let me refer you to this specialist. So be sure when you have this certificate that you inform all of your doctors that you have it so they can refer the patients they don't want to work with anymore to you, because you're the one who actually knows how to help them.
That is right. So I vote for that. All right. So are there any last minute questions here? Because we're running to the end of the hour. Um, it is 2 full days at the end of the conference. By the way, I just think it's a great way to finish the conference, by the way, because it's a really fun class. It's about a fun class about a terribly serious subject. And you're going to learn a great deal. And I'm going to learn a great deal from you too, because that's the beautiful thing about what we really do together. We've all got some cool stuff to share, and I'm looking forward to this conference, Karen. Are you?
I am, yes. I'm
Yeah.
always looking forward to going to Orlando in May. So
Hmm.
this one's a little earlier. Sometimes, it's later in the month. This one's earlier when it's still a tad bit chillier in Chicago. So yes, Orlando's really looking good. And hanging with my friends, my family is always a good time.
Great. All right.
I hope to meet a lot of new people there too. Jessica, it would be lovely to meet you in person. And Jessica Hanson, of course, I will be seeing you, but it'll be good to see everybody.
Yeah, and Sonia and Brittany, and I can't see all these names because they're at the top of my screen.
Chris,
Oh, hi,
Ray,
Chris. I didn't even see you before. You've been off of my screen. It's good to see you. All right, everybody. And Patty Scott, there she is. So everyone, we're looking forward to seeing you at the Hypno Expo 2026 here in Orlando, Florida on May 1st and 2nd with pre and post conference programs the 2 days before and the 2 days after. Come back next week at this same time, and we will be talking with Sheila Zach and Shelley Stockwell, both Shelley Stockwell Nicholas, both of whom have pre and conference programs as well. So it's going to be great fun, and we'll see you then.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay, you
Thank
too.
you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, Karen.
good night.